One of the most controversial choices that you're going to have to make at your Wild Mustang pickup is whether you want the Wranglers to halter your Wild Mustang or not. And if you've never adopted a Wild Mustang before, you might be like, what do you mean? Do the Wranglers train the Wild Mustangs to be able to halter them? No. So at the BLM, they have this awesome chute system where they'll actually run the Wild Mustangs into the chute, and that way that they can care for them. They can even trim their feet and like do some basic vet care, give them their shots, all those things. And so what they're going to do to halter the Mustangs is they're going to get up on a platform. So they're standing up above the Wild Mustang, and then they can sort of just like very skillfully fish the halter on to the Mustang as they're in the chute. And they are very good at this. They make this look super easy. The Mustangs will like kind of like try and duck around and kind of, they'll be a little bit nervous, but the Wranglers do such a good job of just really just getting that halter on nice and easy. And so then they just tie it on. They'll typically try and tie your lead rope in their mane, and then they just run them into your trailer. So a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh my gosh, like the Mustangs are just dragging their lead ropes and wearing these halters, and you can't even touch them and they're not trained at all. And that can, and like for all of us horse people that don't train Wild Mustangs, that sounds like a horrible idea. But what I have found is that it actually really helps with the training process. Now, I've done Mustangs that have been unhaltered, so you have to do a more of a round penning liberty start. And I've done Mustangs where they actually have the halter put on by the BLM. And what I have found is that when they have the halter and drag line, is that it speeds up the process like 100%. And why that is if you have a Mustang that's really head shy or doesn't like being touched, you can work on like the basic leading, lunging, and all the groundwork stuff without having to do a lot of touching to get that halter on. And so kind of like the cons of putting the halter on that a lot of people fear is like the lead rope, because they're just dragging it, is it's going to get stuck on something. And I've been training Mustangs since 2019, and I haven't had a lead rope get stuck once. Praise God for that. And then another fear is that they're going to be stepping on that lead rope the whole time, and it's going to cause rubs or injuries on their nose underneath that halter. And I kind of just use that as like fuel to really get a lot of training time with my Mustangs and really get them touching and leading pretty quick, so I can get that lead rope off of them so that it doesn't hurt their nose at all. And so I have had some that will get some rubs, but never any serious injury. Now, the pros are, if you're working that Wild Mustang, is that you can start teaching them how to lead and lunge, like I said earlier. But also, if you have a Mustang that's particularly kicky or really defensive with the back end, is that you can go ahead and pick up that ground line, and you can be able to pull their head away, swinging that butt around. So it's just going to keep you a lot safer. And so for me, if I have the opportunity, I will always get my Mustang haltered with the drag line on it, because it just makes the process a whole lot easier. And so you have two different options. Sometimes the BLM will provide a halter and lead rope, or you'll have to bring your own. And so I will either do a nylon lead rope, a halter, like this, with a drag line. I don't like to use clippy lead ropes because they will jangle around, they can break, and it's just, sometimes the Mustangs don't like the sound of it. And like I said, I've had a couple break, and then they don't have their drag line on anymore. And then your second option is just a rope halter. And so the difference between the two is the nylon, when they step on the lead rope, it's a lot more forgiving. It won't give the Mustangs as bad as rubs. But I have had several Mustangs be able to slip off the nylon halter. The rope halter, on the other hand, it is a lot more severe when they step on it, and so they will get rubs a lot quicker. But I haven't had any of the rope halters slip off before. And so kind of, if this is your very first time and you think it might take you a couple weeks to get that drag line off or touching your Mustang, I'd go with the nylon. But then if you're worried about them slipping, I'll typically use the rope. And I just give myself like a non-negotiable. If I have to get that Mustang touching and to the point where I can take off the drag line within 2 days, because I really just don't want them stepping on their lead rope time and time again and giving themselves a really bad rub with rope halter. So those are your two options. If you have any questions, I would love to hear it. And good luck training your Wild Mustang.